This is the fundamental calling of every soul, is to express itself through our physical experience. And it can be hard for the soul to make its way through all of the trauma, the energetic and emotional holding, through the belief patterns that cause these distortions to happen. And yet, at the same time, even as we miss the mark, we can use those experiences to serve the ever dawning of the soul. So in this moment, I invite you to think about a recent time. Maybe that's already come to mind when you missed the mark. It may have been a promise that you made to yourself, or something that you said to someone that was taken perhaps the wrong way. And it could be something very, very recent. And it could also be that intuitively your being brings forth something that is quite old. And as you recall this experience of missing the mark to mind and to heart, to body, notice how the breath is feeling now. So you may notice that there's some changes in the breath as you introduce into the field of consciousness this particular experience from your life. And so let that be. Just notice the breath in this moment. Notice where it might be bumping up against certain densities. And just let it be as it is. So we're just observing, knowing that when we observe things with kindness and with openness, with trust, that very act of bringing awareness can actually transform and bring balance. So as you stay with the breath for a little while, just notice that there may be some subtle shifts that happen all on their own. All right. And then I also invite you to acknowledge whatever the mind might be doing right now as you've brought in this experience of missing the mark. What thoughts and what is the quality of the mind, not as a judgment, but does it get busy? Does it get distracted? Does it tell stories? And just notice that. Just include it without necessarily believing it. This helps us to let go of any energy we might be expending trying to manage the mind or wrestling with it. So we're adding different pieces to the field of awareness. We've brought in this episode of this experience of missing the mark. We've included the breath. We've included the mind. Everything is allowed to be just as it is. This is how we use these experiences to help us to learn and to get closer and closer to our soul's authentic expression. And as you titrate in this experience of missing the mark, notice what happens in your body. Notice the sensations, the tensions that might arise. And just open to those as well. You want to include those. They're highlighting places where the system is already somewhat shut down. And they're really showing us, they're giving us a path to including these places and to returning them to their natural relaxed state. So the best way to meet tension is with absolute openness and availability, which then gives it the space and the opportunity to unwind in its own time and in its own way. It's just noticing where tension has arisen as part of this inquiry. And so there's a spirit of inclusion of everything that shows up in our meditation, but no meaning making, just inclusion, without then adding some kind of meaning to it. That's it. And then just noticing how the body responds to that, how those tensions perhaps open up a little bit, perhaps intensify, perhaps you feel some warmth, a little bit of a melting feeling. There you go. That's good. Beautiful. And then just beneath the gross physical sensations, there are more subtle sensations that are related to the emotional body. So when we miss the mark in our lives, there are often emotions that get activated. It could be regret, it could be shame, it could be sadness, it could be anger. It's not so important what we call them. The important thing is to notice where it is that they present themselves in our body, and then to give the generosity of awareness to those two. In fact, it can be helpful to strip off the label, because the label itself can catch us into mental diversion. So it's just about, okay, yes, there is regret here. Where do I feel that in my body? It could be the belly, it could be the heart, the throat. And just open to that. Let it be okay that that is being felt. Because again, it's really just highlighting places where we already are congested in our bodies, and places where the system wants to clear in order to allow more light to come through from the soul level. That's it. And at some point, as we proceed with this inquiry, and as we continue to be available to all that arises, you will begin to feel a sense of presence, as it's being called. That there's something here beyond all of the details that have been activated by this experience of missing the mark. There's a silent witnessing, and it feels like spaciousness in the head. It feels like lightness in the heart and relaxation in the gut. So these are just some of the hallmarks of presence: spaciousness in the head, lightness in the heart, relaxation in the gut. And once you have arrived at the temple of presence, you can let go of the inquiry. This experience of missing the mark was simply a pathway that we took towards presence. And once we are in presence, we can allow ourselves to steep here for the remainder of our meditation.